today's session. So we are here today to hear how making a move from MYOB to NetSuite helped to fuel MILC Group's expansion. So very exciting webinar, fantastic story to get into. I can see we're just waiting for a few people still joining. But we might just jump right into it today. So moving beyond MYOB, how MILC Group drove expansion with a move to NetSuite. So firstly, a big thank you to MILC Group for joining us today. As I mentioned, they have a great brand story and tech transformation journey, which we'll get stuck into shortly. Before we start the session, just some housekeeping for today. We would love to hear from you throughout the session. We do have time for a Q&A at the end, so feel free to use the chat on the right to ask any questions throughout the session. And if you are having any technical issues, also just pop something into the chat and we'll help you as best that we can throughout the session. So looking at the agenda for today, so we'll learn a little bit more about MILC Group, their story and their growth strategy. Then we'll focus in on their transition from MYOB to NetSuite, including the why, the how, and the key outcomes. We'll also touch on the key platform differences for those looking to understand more about a larger ERP. And then, as I mentioned, finishing off with a Q&A at the end. So by way of quick introduction, I'm Isabel Ford, the marketing manager here at Annexa, and I'm joined by Annexa's director, Matthew Owens, and the folks over at MILC Group. So we've got Tim Hickey, the founder and director, and Luke Gilmore, the group managing director. So I might just hand over to you guys very quickly for an introduction. So Matthew, if you want to get us started.
Great to be here, Isabel. Matthew is me, director at Annexa. I've been around some 12, 15 years in the NetSuite ERP space. I'm very fortunate to be able to partner with great businesses like MILC Group to implement tech transformation strategies and help businesses grow. And appreciate MILC Group jumping on today with us for this webinar.
And my name is Tim Hickey. I'm the founder and director of MILC Group, and we're very excited for the invitation from Annexa today, and look forward to having a good chat.
I'm Luke Gilmore, and I'm the group managing director here. Once again, just reiterate what Tim said, really excited to be here, and looking forward to it.
All right, thank you everyone. So last of the formalities, just a very quick introduction on Annexa and how we fit into the discussion today. So we've been in the tech systems game for around 30 years, and we're now one of ANZ's leading NetSuite partners. So it most certainly comes with the territory that we've transitioned many businesses from smaller accounting software like MYOB to NetSuite. And this is across several industries and end-to-end from solution design through to implementation, integration, and then support. So with that out of the way, let's hear firsthand from our guests today. So we've actually had the pleasure of working with MILC Group since 2021. And you guys certainly have an amazing story to share in terms of growth and being able to capitalize on expansion opportunities. So Tim, are you able to kick us off by sharing a bit of an overview of the brand and your growth strategy so far?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Isabel. So MILC Group comprises of two businesses, Alliance Promotions, which is primarily a textile and promotional marketing business. So that's been going since 1998. We celebrated 25 years last August, something I'm incredibly proud of. It's been a great journey, and MILC Network is our packaging arm of the business, and so we service the health and wellness industry by supplying packaging and raw packaging to the health and wellness industry. So that's a very quick overview. It's two very diverse businesses that do very different things. So it's a bit of a backstory to that. If I can not gloss over it, but I'll give you the quickest version of it as I possibly can. I have a textile background. So I started Alliance Promotions back in 1998 as a one-man operation, basically a bit like a lot of entrepreneurs starting out of pretty much a kitchen and a garage, which we then evolved over time, picked up some clients as we went along, and have been very fortunate that we deal with some of the biggest listed companies in the country. And MILC Network was a packaging business was an opportunity in a niche market that I saw from a client to pick up the packaging business that was offered to us about 12 years ago. It's a very small, different business to what it is today, but we had the opportunity, as I said, and grabbed it with both hands, and I purchased MILC just over 12 years ago. That today is a very niche player in the packaging world, but we punch well above our weight. But it's been a really exciting time for us in the last 3-4 years, especially with the adoption of NetSuite into our business.
Maybe Tim, obviously great story, great brand, and appreciate the partnership that we've had since 2021. It feels like your business model has evolved in line with the acquisition of MILC Group, and then you, I guess, making it your own and really stepping up in terms of the services that you're offering. Maybe you could walk us through that sort of transition from packaging and promotional materials into the sort of full service fulfillment operation that you run today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matthew. So MILC is predominantly a service business. We don't manufacture anything ourselves, but we do act as a conduit to supply, whether it's textiles to the Alliance business or packaging to the MILC business. And we saw a niche in the market where there's other players, competitors that do certain segments of that market really well, but don't offer the full service. And it sort of aligned back in the COVID times where businesses, obviously Alliance predominantly sells uniforms to corporate Australia. People working from home meant that uniforms weren't going to do so well over that period. And it was fortunate that we had MILC Network as a business to sort of foster our way through that COVID period. So it was a position for us that we were getting a lot of inquiries from small startups, SMEs, plus bigger corporate clients to supply packaging. But one of the niches that we saw in the industry was to offer a full service whereby we source, supply the packaging, deliver it to contract manufacturers, etc. But then also to take back that packaging once it was filled and distribute it from a fulfillment side of things. That was something that no one else in our industry that we knew of was actually doing. And it all sort of fits hand in glove to that full service thing that MILC prides itself on across the board. We are a service first business, and we have a mantra of service before profit is our point of difference. And obviously the commercials have to equate, but we find that if we're servicing our clients properly, the business comes. So there was that niche, and unfortunately with what happened during COVID, we again saw an opportunity. But what we realized very quickly is our systems and platforms weren't in place to take us to where we wanted to go. So at the time, our general manager at the time had some background with NetSuite, and so we were talking in the background about that. And then that's basically how our journey started. Was I had some big ideas about how we could advance the business forward, guarantee more work, and provide a difference in the market that wasn't currently being provided. But with that came the need to invest heavily across our websites, and then our back end, to make sure that our systems and processes could keep up with where we're trying to get to. So that's the concise version of it. Obviously, we kicked off with Annexa in about 2020. We initiated the discussion with Annexa, and looking at that NetSuite model. We also I'm very big on the big end of town in terms of brands. So we wanted to partner with Shopify from a website perspective. And obviously NetSuite is, in my opinion, the oracle of what they do. So it was one of those things that we said, right, if we're going to do this and we're going to spend this sort of money to get to where we need to get, we're going to do it with the big boys. And I think to dispel a lot of the rumors around, one, pricing themselves out, or they're too expensive, or businesses we weren't in a position at that time with our core market being really challenged because of what we did, being our business was underpinned by our textile business. And obviously, as I mentioned, not being able to sell uniforms during the COVID period because people were working from home was really challenging for our business. But we actually looked at that as a positive, that it was a great opportunity to invest and to get our systems right so that we could launch from there. So I'm a big believer in you have to get the nuts and bolts right from the get-go. And then once you get that right, then you can actually launch and have a real crack from there. So it was good that, our MD at the time had some experience with NetSuite, and the team really took on that partnership and looked to embrace it. And if I could make one recommendation, if you're going to do this, you've got to do it properly and go in all in. And at the time, obviously, with what was going on commercially from a business point of view and a global point of view, it was a very tough time. But I think in hindsight, it was a really good decision to make, to do it at that stage. And I think we're now seeing the benefits of that, particularly in the last 18 months to 2 years.
It's an awesome story, Tim. And I vividly recall the conversations with your vision, and then the timing being obviously COVID and everyone working from home, and just going for it in terms of doing it properly, getting it done. So both the Shopify and NetSuite implementations effectively happening at the same time. So a great story and experience to be part of. And it was good to have a team that are fully committed in terms of making it happen, which was awesome. In terms of that sort of initial growth and I guess entry into e-commerce, that was new at the time. I remember post-COVID, you didn't really have a digital presence in terms of e-commerce, and then you spun that up pretty quickly on the back of the COVID thing. Was that did that change the strategy in terms of MILC Group, or what did that do in terms of entering e-commerce in context of your traditional alliance promotions business?
Yeah, so traditionally we're a business-to-business company. We hadn't dealt with B2C. Business to the end customer was not our go at all. And as I said, because there was such inquiry at the time, so to give you an understanding of the milk packaging business, we provide plastic and glass consumables to the wellness industry. So think like plastic PET bottles or glass jars. And at that stage, we had a big influx of inquiry around sanitizer product. I think if you recall, every man and his dog was making sanitizer. As I said, we're not manufacturers, so our partners, obviously some of our partners are some of the biggest contract manufacturers in the country, and one of them was actually the biggest sanitizer supplier in the country, and was actually the government had really good contracts with them to make sure hospitals were supplied with sanitizer first. But we had everyone needed sanitizer, and we had a lot of our existing customers reach out to us and say, you guys play in this field, can you get us some sanitizer? Again, saw an opportunity because of our partners. So we actually kept getting so many inquiries for it, I decided to actually put some medical grade sanitizer down. We did that, but to do that, we needed a platform to sell it. So it wasn't something that we could, sit on our hands. We had to get moving really quickly. And I think, to my team's credit, I'll be first to admit I'm not a tech guy. This is talking about software is well outside my comfort zone. I'm a sales guy and a relationship sort of a guy more so than anything else. So I really had to lean on my team to pull something together very quickly, and Shopify was sort of to the rescue there. But in the background, we also realized that to do this longer term, we had to make sure that we had a robust system behind us, and that's where NetSuite came into play. So it was something that, was definitely not really on our radar. And I don't like to use those words like pivot and, into other industries, but it was kind of like a perfect storm for us in that we had so many smaller side hustle type businesses reaching out to us from a packaging point of view, that, reading the play, I said, there's an opportunity here for an online presence that can only benefit the rest of our business. So our textile business has a pick and pack component. So we basically hold uniforms for clients in our warehouse. They place orders via a website that gets delivered to them within 24 to 48 hours from their point of order, which is very different to the industry standard. The standard's sort of 4 to 6 weeks, place an order, you go and make the product and then ship it. Our model was to be quicker and faster than everybody else. And to do that, you have to store stock. So we had those systems with MYOB set up, but they were not going to grow as the business grew, and they were definitely not going to grow with an online presence. So the information I received was we need to invest some money here to get this to do it properly. And obviously it was a new market for us, so it was exciting, but a lot of hard work as well, but something that we, off the back of Shopify, could adapt very, very quickly and meet that market while there was a request. But also knowing that because we play in the promotional and the marketing space in the textile game, we also knew that the market was going to catch up very quickly from imported product from China, etc., when things got back to normal and shipping came back to normal. So we knew we had to act really quickly. And I think that was one of the benefits that we saw, that you don't just sort of snap your fingers one day and decide to change your ERP, but it was one of those things that we're already in conversation, and it was like, okay, can these two companies go with where we need them to go with what we're trying to do? And the answer was yes for both. And as you know, the integration process with some of our bigger end fulfillment customers now has been really robust and really seamless. And so it's really paying us back for that. So to speak to that a bit more, when I say our fulfillment customers, so we had a lot of customers that were a traditional customer in a business sense. They'd reach out when they needed a product or service and they'd buy it from us, and we'd fulfill it and send it on to them. And the difference that we would finding is that because of our service standards, which is something as a business that we pride ourselves on, we were asked to then do the end fulfillment to some of their B2C customers, which was outside of what we'd normally done. To do that, we needed an integration system. So with our customers' software into our back end of the NetSuite to then link in with Shopify. And that was something that, the integration process is time consuming, but it's also necessary for the systems to work at their optimum. So that is something that now we have a really good fulfillment service. So that whole vision of creating something from the start to an end service game, so a full turnkey solution for our customers, is what we were trying to achieve. And I'm really happy to report that we've now got that. We ship over 1,000 parcels every month now, and it's a really big part of our business that we offer to our really good partners. So it's something, again, that if we hadn't have adopted and hadn't gone in strong and hard, we wouldn't have been able to provide. So it really has paid us back for being brave during a very tough business climate.
Definitely. And Matthew, from a solution perspective, what are some of the key reasons, benefits that businesses are moving from MYOB to NetSuite? And was there anything specific to highlight for MILC Group?
I think MILC Group, there were a lot of the classic kind of outgrown software needing to take the next step sort of business drivers that we talk to businesses about, almost every week. Probably the difference with MILC Group was the business strategy and the growth strategy the vision was there, and there was sort of hindsight to put the systems in at the right time to support the growth, which I think was a great thing. I know that Tim, you had to sort of take a punt to put systems in and really back the growth strategy, noting that COVID was quiet for you guys. And we had to get the system in really quickly. I think that, probably more often than not, we see businesses that have already grown and then their quality of service drops off because they don't have the right systems to support the scale. And then, it becomes a little bit more challenging. So from that perspective, that's probably unique for MILC Group. But in terms of typical drivers, it's, running multiple companies, you've got several different files of MYOB. It's inability to scale from a technology perspective. So a lot of the systems similar to MYOB EXO that Tim and the group were running, on premise, so restricted by all the typical infrastructure, servers, and IT requirements that businesses have to figure out, internally. So relying on SaaS vendors obviously gives us the scale and flexibility to dial up the back end as we need. And then I'd say probably most important for a fairly diverse business like MILC Group is flexibility of integrations. So taking away all the infrastructure and back end type challenges, you need a system with a really strong set of APIs to integrate with, and then have flexibility to kind of plug and play different systems. And I think that's a good example from when the MILC Group guys initially went into e-commerce. They spun up Shopify. They integrated Shopify with NetSuite to enable orders and fulfillment to occur. And then fast forward a few years later, the business has gone even further in terms of offering full service, where now, as Tim was saying, that they're fully integrating their customers with MILC Group's supply chain to effectively help them run their business. So without that kind of integration capability, there's just no way that the business would be able to scale. So depends on your industry, but I think that integration capabilities, multiple entities, and flexibility in terms of scale are the key reasons why we would be replacing MYOB systems with NetSuite.
Yeah, great. And Luke, jumping over to you, would love to hear some of the exciting projects and initiatives that you have at MILC Group at the moment, and sort of give us a little bit of insight into what's next as well.
Yeah, so we've been working really hard, as Tim was saying, on our efficiencies in the background. Just recently, or just over a year and a half ago, we moved 3 warehouses into our current location, so it's all under the one roof. Like with NetSuite, obviously we want everything all under the one roof, and we just recently went through a warehouse audit to obviously look at our efficiencies and where we can improve. One key thing that we really wanted out of the audit was a freight solution, because currently everything is done as far as the pick and pack within RF Smart and NetSuite, but we were still going externally to AusPost to be able to print off con notes and things like that. So, which really opens, I guess, room for human error. So we've been looking at trying to obviously minimize the risk as much as possible in that sense. And what was great is that we've actually found a solution which is called Ready Freight, which is a purpose-built program that obviously integrates directly into NetSuite. So now through the pick, pack, and also fulfillment process, we're able to print the con note at the end of that process and put it on the box and send it. So rather than having to jump from website to website to obviously finalize everything, it's now obviously all integrated under the one roof, which is great for us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then lastly, for businesses who are looking to upgrade from MYOB to a larger ERP like NetSuite, is there any advice that you would give to businesses?
Look, I just started nearly 2 years ago in the business, and I know that Deanna was the one that integrated and set up NetSuite within the system. I think probably the biggest thing that she, to come out of that, was that she needs really good support, I think, is the key thing that she said. But as far as Annexa is concerned, the support that we get from them, also Jonathan, as I mentioned earlier, he's been fantastic through the whole process as well. So I think a really good support network there to help the process along.
Great. And Matt, do you have anything to add sort of from our lens as a solution provider?
Yeah, I guess reflecting back on the MILC journey, and any other business, I suppose, that's considering evaluating new technology, do it properly, invest, take the time in the decision-making process, sit down with multiple SIs, get their feedback and experience on how they would go about a project of this nature. You, generally speaking, only do it every 5 to 10 years, so you kind of want to get it right. I think that what makes or breaks a great project is just fantastic people, and I think the partnership with MILC Group, Deanna, Tim, Luke, working together, being really honest and open when you need help, and sharing how you're feeling. It's the people that can work together to really deliver great projects. And I think that, it's a partnership more so than even the technology itself, to make sure that you nail it. So that's important. Internal readiness, it just requires, guys like Tim, Luke, running a business to really champion and empower technology transformation across the business. I think that's something that MILC Group did really, really well. And if you are considering taking the next step, if you're in middle management, you absolutely need your execs to be on board. If you're an exec, you need to bring your team on the journey. So considering how you do that for your organization, I think is key. And then, come and have a chat with us, have a chat with other SIs, get a feel for the process, and make sure you're comfortable.
Great. All right, we do have time for some Q&A. So we have had a couple questions come through. Firstly, how long did it take MILC Group to transition away from MYOB? So Matt, perhaps you can take this one.
Probably a pretty tough one. I remember there was during the COVID era, Tim, where we were working remote and having a crack at it remote. So that was kind of a pretty unique scenario, just effectively getting things done remotely with light touch in your warehouses. But yeah, I'd say about 6 months. Probably a little bit quicker. Just trying to cut things over systematically. But yeah, around about 6 months. And I'd say in terms of budgeting time, that's pretty aggressive, right? Anything between 4 to 6 months is pretty aggressive. But if you keep the scope nice and tight and your success criteria is really clear, 4 to 6 months would be a good starting point.
Great. And then probably just time for one more. Someone has asked, how does NetSuite handle multi-company compared to MYOB?
So NetSuite, one of the great things with NetSuite is it's just one system. It's one database that's online, and then it has the ability to run multiple companies inside one database. So I'd say that's a really key differentiator to a lot of other ERPs where there are multiple databases for each company. So that enables things like intercompany fulfillment, intercompany trading, intercompany transactions, consolidation, FX translation. It makes that much easier. And I'd say, there'd be 90+% of the businesses that we support on NetSuite are using its multi-company capabilities.
Great. All right, well, we'll leave it there for today. So thank you to everyone for joining us, and a big thank you to MILC Group for coming on and sharing your story. We'll definitely be sharing a copy of the recording with everyone, so feel free to share it with your colleagues. And we'll also reach out if anyone has any further questions beyond this session. We are happy to answer. Or again, feel free to reach out, via website or email. But yes, thank you to MILC Group for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks so much, Isabel.
Thanks.
Tim, Luke, appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.